Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of One More Thing with Pastor Eric. As we continue talking about this series on wisdom, we got a lot more to kind of share with you. So,
Yeah,
what do you got?
yeah. And as you mentioned that, we could do a whole 8 week series, but I hope and pray that this gets people's appetite. Like it's like maybe the appetizer, and that people would dive into the book of Proverbs and even Ecclesiastes because there's such a wealth of wisdom, and even James. I mean, the Bible itself has a lot of wisdom, but these are some key books that I would recommend people read if they are seeking wisdom. Is read Proverbs, Ecclesiastics, and James. Uh, Very, very great wisdom there. So yeah, today I just thought the message was on the value of wisdom. So today I thought about talking about why don't we value it? What are some of the reasons why we don't? So the number one reason is we crave control and security. So we crave it. We feel like we have to have security. We have to have control. And so money, possessions, wealth give us the illusion of control. And it makes us feel safe, independent, and less vulnerable. We think if I have enough, I can handle anything. So, but that's a false sense of security. And I love this verse. Proverbs 18:11. Rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his imagination. I just love that because it is an illusion. It's just this, you can have this fortress that you feel like is impenetrable, and you feel like that security. But only God is the only one that can give us full security, and we need to trust Him.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, yes, there are some good arguments and some kind of, proof that can provide safety and can do things, right? Because you play all the scenarios. Well, if something car breaks down, I have the money. Right, it does do those things, but beyond that, ultimately, it can all go away. Like it
Yeah,
cannot be
well,
there.
I don't know if
So
you've ever had your bank account hacked,
yeah,
or if you've ever not had your wallet with you,
yeah,
or nowadays your phone.
yeah,
But when you're in those situations, even if you have it, it doesn't mean it's going to solve all your problems. It doesn't mean it's going to fix everything.
yeah. I think people they stop thinking at that point. Like they get up to that point. He's like, well, but it does. If things could break down or whatever, then I have that money.
Yeah,
That's why I store it up. But they don't think beyond that. They don't think,
yeah.
they just want to stop there. So
Well, it goes back to the same idea with bread too. It's like we constantly feel like that food is what sustains us. When our stomachs get hungry, we automatically want to go eat or get food, and what God is trying to always say to us is that we don't live just because we eat. We don't live because we have water to drink or other things to drink. It's because God wills it, and the reason why we have security is because God is the one that's provided for us, watches over us, and so yeah, that false sense of security. So sometimes we don't value wisdom; we value wealth more because we feel like it gives us that security.
mhm.
So we value having money, we value having things. Um, Number two here is we want to be valued and admired. So we're willing to not value wisdom. We're willing to value money and wealth more than wisdom because we want to feel valued and admired. As I mentioned about me with my car, it was that type of thought. It's like this makes me feel cool. This makes me feel admired. People like me because I have this. And that's such a false dichotomy because one, a car breaks down. You're not always going to have those things, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money to keep those things. And so tying your funds or your resources or your wealth into your having this admiration or having this value, again, our value as Christians comes from Christ, and it should come from Him alone. And if you have that mindset of Christ is your value, then you treat everything different. Then you don't operate the way that you're fearful or you're afraid of your identity because you know who you are. And I think that's probably the bigger question for most people is, do you know who you really are? Because I know, like for me, it took me a while to understand that my value comes from Christ. It's not thank yous or praises from people. It's my identity comes from Jesus. So it doesn't matter what title I have. It doesn't matter what position I have in the church or outside the church. My identity is from Christ alone. So in our culture, wealth equals status. Riches may make people look important or successful deep down. We want to be respected, noticed, envied, and even envied for good reasons. So we can have a good intention about it, but a lot of times it leads us down a dark road. The third one here is we think it will make us happy. And I see that a lot of times, people, and I think that, you know, we had a discussion as a family a few weeks ago about the lottery. And, I mentioned that I feel like the lottery preys upon the poor because there's this thought for the poor that if I just had this much money, then I could be better off. And wisdom would say, use the resources that you have now and do something with that to make it better for yourself rather than trying to think that there's some magic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
A quick way to
Yeah,
get it
quick way.
without
And
having to go.
that happens a lot, right? We want to take shortcuts,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not willing to wait for anything. We're not willing to put hard work in. And if you want to walk in the ways of wisdom, you have to be forward thinking. You have to, and many of us, I think that probably like me, we grew up with very little money, and so, I did have that thought in my head. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to have wealth. I don't want to have to worry about spending something. I want to be able to do what I want, right? And so you kind of feel grown up in maybe a poor home or a home that didn't have a lot of money. You feel like you want to try to make yourself better so you can have those things that you want. But I thought about this too. Like, I mean, going to different places. I'm not begrudging anybody that travels a lot or goes to different places, but no one person can be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have lots of money or lots of resources, you may be able to go across the country, you may be able to go across the world, but you can't go everywhere. So make the use of where you're at now and enjoy your life. Joy comes from knowing Christ and having a relationship with Him. So that's two things, right? Your identity should be in Christ, but really your joy in life, it comes from Him. And so it's not about happiness. Happiness too is fleeting. It's here for a moment, like getting a new PlayStation, getting a new Xbox. Oh, it's so cool. It's so neat. Getting a new car, like my daughter, she's just on cloud nine. She's got not a brand new car, but a new car to her, and it's got all these features. And that's exciting, right? But after a while, that's fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
It'll pass. Joy is a deeper thing where it stays with you, and it's this connection with God that we have that's eternal.
And I think that type of joy is what helps combat and kind of lingers and can stay there to help you in the harder times.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, happiness is so fleeting that when something bad comes along, it just can immediately destroy it. But if you get that right type of joy that only God can give you,
Yeah.
that kind of sustains a little bit more into those hardships to where you're able to deal with it.
Well, and just like for the poor, for those that may be thinking that the lottery or, winning the lottery, so they'll take their last $10 to play the lottery to see if they can get something out of it. They're always thinking about, hey, if I have this money, it's going to make me better, but they don't think about the problems it's going to cause too. Because depending on their area of friends and their area of needs, they could have people come out of the woodwork to ask for money, and then they don't know how to handle money. That's another problem.
Yeah.
Because they have, as we're going to talk about in this Sunday about the different types of people that you be. And I believe, and I'll probably say this Sunday, that you can be all of them at once sometimes. You can be the mocker, you can be the fool, you can be the simple, you can be the wise. It's just depending on your area of expertise or the area that you've allowed yourself to grow in. But people that have ended up like winning a bunch of money because they don't know and they don't have wisdom, it's all gone because they weren't even practicing wisdom in the first place, so that when they did receive the money, they didn't make a good choice.
And that kind of takes a little bit of effort and work to sustain that, keep it going, and if you don't want to, you already made that decision to do a quick get rich type thing, so you didn't put any work or effort into that. So then even once you get it afterwards, you're not looking to put work into maintaining it, keeping it.
Yeah.
What I got to watch out for, be vigilant. You don't want to put that effort into it. So
because you're so focused on the day to day, you don't even think about looking to the future of what maybe tomorrow could be. So you're willing to waste on things that are consumable things, items that last that week or that day, but you're not thinking long term how you can invest that money for the future to really make you successful. But that's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom would be, okay, let's think about this for a second. Let's not rush into spending it or trying to, how do I need to? And again, I want to make this clear. Wisdom is about asking questions. Wisdom is seeking knowledge, that you understand that there's more information out there that you want to obtain so that you can make a better decision. It's different than knowledge. Knowledge is just getting answers, but wisdom is processing that and saying, okay, how could I work that to my advantage? Or how could I use this information to make a better decision in my life? And I think that's a lot of times people don't see that. And so they look, I just want to be happy in the moment, not what's going to lead to success for your life. Like you said, just, you're not equipping yourself with the right tools to be able to make the best decisions, even if you had a bunch of money. And that's why people's patterns don't change, because they're not wanting to grow in wisdom.
Yeah, I heard this and it was clever and it was funny. And then someone here last Sunday, or I can't remember when I ran into him, but might have been at the men's thing, but someone else brought the same type of joke up too. But it was, knowledge is knowing that tomatoes are fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
was a really very simplistic but funny way of describing
definitely
the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
No, it's very true. Number 4 here, we don't truly believe wisdom is better. We just don't value. We just feel like money or wealth or everything else the world has to offer is so much better than having wisdom. Wisdom is, we don't believe it. It's like a lot of times people will say things that they believe, but yet their actions don't speak it. I don't know how many people I feel like talk about following Jesus or believing in Jesus, and I'm not trying to be overcritical, but I just know, and I see their actions, and I'm like, that doesn't compute, It doesn't add up. Like you're saying the right things, but I don't think you really believe them, because you're believing your faith would lead you to do certain things. It leads you to act a certain way. It leads you to handle yourself in a different mode, right? If you really believe what Jesus says, if you really live out that, then your behavior is going to change. It may not right away, but you can't stay where you are if you really truly believe something. It's going to change how you act and how you approach things. Wisdom is more precious than rubies. That was Proverbs 3, verse 15. But in the moment, gold feels, or wealth feels more useful. We think about it like, hey, I can buy a house, I can pay off the bills, I can fix problems, but only wisdom can build a marriage, restore a soul, or guide a life with lasting peace. And I think about that like, money can do a lot, but wisdom can do a lot of things that money can't. Money can't buy you happiness. It can give you a moment of joy, or not a moment of joy, a moment of enjoyment, but it'll fade. The last one here is, we live in a culture that just values wealth and just makes it such a focus. We're inundated by the worship of wealth in our culture, and that makes it really hard because we're inundated by it. You know, a lot of times we used to talk about TV, movies. Now it's social media, it's TikTok, it's, you know, I'm amazed at like how many times my kids have, you know, especially Isaiah, my youngest, has decided that he wanted certain things because he saw it on a TikTok or a YouTube short video, and it's really
Well,
interesting.
it's that other people are making videos off of this by saying TikTok made me buy this, and then they're showing it
Yeah.
off, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, TikTok made you buy it? Like,
Yeah.
really? Like, they made you? You know?
Well, it goes to show how easily influenced we are, and that goes back to the thought of wisdom: is who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, what is your source of information that you rely on the most? And that, you know, you can listen to a lot of different things, you can watch movies, but what value do you give those things when it comes to your making your choices, making your decisions? Are you looking to those that have good information? You know, just because you know things doesn't mean it's truth. And so seek truth, look for truth, and the world is going to, you know, Jesus talks about the broad is the road to destruction, narrow is the gate to eternal life. So yeah, it's going to be limited as far as those things that lead to life are not going to, you know, be out there always in the forefront. You know, you got to look for and seek out truth. You got to seek out good friendships. You got to seek out for those that surround yourself with to give you a good environment so that you have a good base. And I'm not saying we can't have non-Christian friends. I want to make that clear because we do have to reach people with the gospel. But when it comes to your inner circle of people that you confide in over bigger issues or bigger problems, people that you lean on when you need somebody to talk to or some guidance in your life, those need to be people that you know love Jesus and love God. And you look to those to give you some guidance and direction, to have your bearings. You know, I thought about this too, and I'll end with this. I thought about reality. How do I know my reality? You know, reality doesn't just come from me, right? It's, you know, I can make all things up in my head. Really, you know, I think about that. Like, I think wisdom is the knowledge, the understanding that my reality is defined not just by me and how I perceive it, but also those around me, how they perceive things. And a lot of times, if we get so in our head, we can project things and think things are totally off base. We can get caught up in our illusions that we make in our mind and not have any bearing to say, okay, this is reality because this person and this person and this person that I've surrounded myself help me define what reality is. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of a matrix or a deeper dive thing that we should talk about. You know, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this Sunday talking about the different 4 kind of categories of people that Proverbs talks about, and then I'm looking to talk about the call of wisdom the week after. So yeah, got some exciting things to talk about.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us and watching this and checking this out. And of course, as always, if you missed this past Sunday or the previous 2 Sundays about talking about this series of wisdom, go back, watch it. And once again, we hope to see you this Sunday. Take care.